Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking a few minutes to listen to me today. My name's John, and my channel is the Mellow Out. And those of you that watched my previous video probably understand I have a couple of basic premises. The first premise would be to mellow out. Those that have an effect are people who are not running around like a chicken with their head cut off. When there's an accident or a crisis developed, they're the ones that matter, that are able to accomplish something. The second thing is get your priorities straight. Those aren't the only two big premises. There are some others. You know, I'm a little older than most of you folks watching this. I'm 64 years old. And when I was about 10 years old, we moved from Oklahoma. I was raised in the Bible Belt. And we moved to the San Francisco Bay Area, where they had a lot more alternative news letters and people that were more awake. And I began to first start waking up when John Kennedy was assassinated. That was my first real revelation that something wasn't right. It was obvious to me that they weren't telling us the truth, that there was some kind of a cover-up going on. And I began to start talking to people about this, and they started looking at me like I was from a different planet, but I didn't know what I was talking about. Those of you that are awake know exactly what I'm talking about. At that same time, we had the Vietnam War starting to escalate. And, it was important to me because I was getting close to draft age. And so I talked to the guys when they come up from the war. And they'd tell me things that just didn't seem quite true to me either. And I didn't understand it. They would talk about they wouldn't let them fight. They had all these different rules. Didn't sound like any war I'd ever heard of. Certainly wasn't like World War II or World War I. And so I started studying that, and I began to start talking to people about it and looking into some war protests and going to San Francisco and talking to some people. And I began to learn a lot of things. I also began to learn when you're awake and everybody else is asleep, it's very lonesome. But I came up with a couple of different premises. The first premise I came up with was what I call the golden rule. I'm not talking religion. I'm talking about the golden rule of reality. Those with the goal make the rules. Those of you that are awake know that the politicians, the senators, the congressmen, the president, the governors, the world leaders are not the ones that are in power. I began to study the Illuminati, and we heard about the Rothschilds and the Kennedys and the Bushes and how many of them, we could go on forever. But those were the real power, and that was the golden rule. So now I got three premises. Mellow out. You're not going to accomplish anything if you run around scared to death about everything. Number two, get your priorities straight. Number three, the golden rule is reality. Next thing you're going to realize is, like I said, I was born in Oklahoma, moved to California, and I was raised as a Christian, but I began to realize you got the Christians, and you got a whole bunch of different sects. You've got the Catholics, you got the Mormons, you got the Seventh-day Adventists. And then I began to realize that, wait a minute, now we get the Muslims, and they got hundreds of different sects when it comes to that. You've got thousands of different religions, and you've got millions of different spiritual philosophies. And I begin to realize, nobody's really got the answer. If anybody had the answer, there'd only be one church. So I began to study a lot of different religions, and I realized I got just as much chance of being right as anybody else. If you think you're going to go to your to your priest or your rabbi and get the answers, you're sadly mistaken. You're alone. If you have a personal relationship with God, you're lucky. But that relationship is between you and God, and that was the way it was designed. At least that's what I think. So now we got 4 purposes. Mellow out, get your priorities straight, those with the goal, make some rules, and nobody's got the answers when it comes to spirituality. Now, like I say, we didn't have the internet back in the 60s and 70s, but I knew something was wrong, and the more I studied, the more I realized that things weren't what they appeared. And I thought I was going to change the world. I was going to tell people, well, what I did is I found out that, I was a pretty smart guy, so people would at least listen to me, but they looked at me kind of sideways. I began to wonder at times if I was crazy or not. And I think those of us that are awake have probably all had those moments. As more people wake up, we realize we're not awake because, we're not crazy, because as people wake up, they begin to seek answers the same way that you did when you first woke. So what you have to do now in the next premise, you've got to be prepared. I've been putting food away for almost 50 years now. There have been a lot of times that I ate food I wasn't that crazy about, but I had it, was getting old. I figured I may as well eat it now. And I still do it, but I not only prepare food for myself, I prepare food for people that are important to me. Because when things go to hell in a handbasket, they may still be asleep. And when they wake up, they're not going to be prepared. It's important that I have food. It's important that I have supplies. It's important that I have a place for people to come. Those are all important things to prepare for the people that are important to me in my life. And I think that's the most important thing that you can do. You're probably not going to wake a lot of them up. You've been trying for how long, and how many of you really woke up? Sometimes people you'll think are awake, and then you'll soon realize they're only patronizing. But when they have a question, who do they come to? They come to you. As they wake up, they begin to. So I'm not going to ramble on much longer here, but I have, 5 basic premises now. Number 1, mellow out. Number 2, get your priorities straight. Number 3, goes with the goal, makes the rules. Number 4, when it comes to spirituality, nobody's got the answer. You've got just as much chance of being right as any theologian out there. And number 5, prepare for what I think we all know is coming. Not just for yourself, prepare for those that are asleep now. Anyway, that's enough for now. Those are my philosophies. If you notice on my channel, I don't have any notes down there. I haven't talked much about myself, but I've been awake a long time, and I've been very frustrated, and I thought, what a waste of time. I did have a couple of responses to my last video by people that seem to be interested in what I have to say, and so that's why I decided to go ahead and make another video. If I don't get any more responses, then I will do exactly what I've been doing, and that's I will continue to prepare for the people that are asleep, that are important in my life. And I suggest you do the same. I want to thank you all very much for listening to me. I'd appreciate any comments you had. God bless you, and have a nice day.